When did your family realize you weren't just another irresponsible teen mom? I took one look at her and said, we're going to the emergency room right now. My mother stepped in front of the door, blocking my path. Madison, you're overreacting again. Babies cry. That's what they do. But Emma wasn't just crying. She'd been screaming for 3 hours straight, a high-pitched sound I'd never heard from her before, and her soft spot was bulging. I was 18 with a 6-month-old daughter, living back in my parents' house after Emma's father disappeared the day I told him I was pregnant. My family made sure I knew what they thought of me every single day. My mother would sigh loudly whenever Emma cried at night. My father refused to hold her, saying I'd made my bed and now had to lie in it. My older sister Valerie would make comments about how I'd ruined my life and wasted my potential. They treated me like a cautionary tale, proof of what happens when you make bad choices. But I'd been doing everything right. Feeding schedules, tracking wet diapers, reading parenting books from the library while Emma napped. I'd even enrolled in online classes to finish my high school diploma. My pediatrician said I was one of the most attentive first-time moms she'd seen. None of that mattered to my family though. Everything I did was wrong in their eyes. When Emma started solids, my mother criticized my choices. When I asked for help, they'd say I should have thought about that before getting pregnant. When I tried to set a sleep schedule, Valerie would deliberately wake Emma up just to prove I couldn't control anything. The strange symptoms started 2 weeks ago. Emma would stare at nothing for minutes at a time, not responding when I called her name. She stopped reaching for toys. Her appetite dropped. When I mentioned it at dinner, my father said I was being dramatic. My mother suggested I was just a nervous first-time mom looking for problems that didn't exist. But I knew my daughter. Something was wrong. The bulging soft spot was new though. I'd changed her diaper an hour ago and noticed it looked swollen, almost pulsing. I'd grabbed my phone and Googled infant bulging fontanelle, and every result said the same thing. Emergency. Possible meningitis. Brain swelling. Get help immediately. I ran downstairs with Emma in my arms, and my mother blocked the door. Where do you think you're going at this hour? To the hospital. Something's wrong with Emma. My mother rolled her eyes. Nothing is wrong. You're just anxious and looking for attention. You've been doing this for weeks, making up symptoms. My sister appeared from the living room. Mom's right, Madison. You need to calm down. This is embarrassing. You can't keep running to the ER every time she cries. I'd never taken Emma to the ER before. I'd never even made an unscheduled doctor's appointment, but they said it like I did this constantly. I tried to push past my mother, but she grabbed my arm. You're not taking that baby anywhere tonight. She's fine. Look at her. She's calm now. Emma had stopped crying, but not in a good way. She'd gone quiet and limp in my arms, her eyes half closed. That scared me more than the screaming. I need to go. Now, my father stood up from his chair. Madison, your mother said no. You're going to your room, and we're calling Dr. Patterson in the morning if you're still worried. But you're not driving anywhere tonight. That's when I noticed something I'd been too panicked to see before. On the kitchen counter was an open bottle of infant Tylenol, but I kept Emma's medicine in the diaper bag upstairs. I always had. This bottle looked different, older, the label slightly faded. Why is there Tylenol out? I asked. My mother's expression changed, just for a second. Something flickered across her face that looked almost like guilt. Valerie jumped in quickly. I gave her some earlier when you were in the shower. She seemed fussy, but Emma hadn't been fussy earlier. She'd been fine until about an hour after I'd left her with my mother while I took a quick shower. You gave her medicine? Without asking me? Valerie shrugged. You were busy. We were helping. I looked at the bottle more closely. The expiration date was from 2019. This medicine was 7 years old. Who gives a baby expired medicine? My mother reached for the bottle, but I grabbed it first. Madison, give that back right now. This is my house, and you're being ridiculous. I pulled out my phone with one hand while holding Emma with the other, taking a photo of the bottle. What are you doing? My father moved toward me, but I backed away. Something in my expression must have warned him off because he stopped. I'm documenting this. Then I'm leaving with my daughter. The three of them exchanged looks, some silent communication I didn't understand. That's when I noticed Emma's diaper bag by the coat rack. I hadn't brought it downstairs. Someone had moved it there. Inside it, I found another bottle, this one unmarked, filled with white liquid. What is this? My heart was pounding now. No one answered. They just stared at me with expressions I couldn't read. My mother finally spoke, her voice very quiet. Madison, you need to trust us. We're your family. We know what's best. But I didn't trust them anymore. And that's when I realized Emma's symptoms hadn't started 2 weeks ago out of nowhere. They'd started exactly when I'd agreed to let my mother watch her while I went to my online classes 3 days a week. Click the link below or check my channel to find out what happened next. I clutch Emma to my chest, my phone still in my hand as I stare at the unmarked bottle. Something inside me shifts, like tectonic plates grinding together before an earthquake. This isn't normal. This isn't just family overstepping boundaries. What have you been giving her? My voice barely sounds like my own. My mother steps forward, hand outstretched. Madison, you're being hysterical. Give me the baby and go lie down. Instead, I raise my phone and start recording, panning from Emma's limp form to her bulging fontanelle, capturing the evidence of what's happening to my daughter. What are you doing? My father's voice booms through the room, documenting what you've done to her, I say, my voice steadier than I feel. You've been drugging my baby. My mother lunges for my phone, her fingers clawing at my wrist. Stop this nonsense right now. I twist away, keeping the camera rolling. You gave her expired medication. What's in this other bottle? What else have you been giving her? Nothing she doesn't need, Valerie says from behind my mother, her voice eerily calm. We're just helping since you clearly can't handle being a mother. The realization hits me like a physical blow. This isn't the first time they've done this. The fussiness my mother claimed to notice, the symptoms that started when she began watching Emma, it wasn't coincidence. You've been making her sick, I whisper, horror washing over me. On purpose. My father steps forward, his face darkening. That's enough, Madison. You're not thinking clearly. Don't come near us, I shout, backing toward the front door. I'm calling 911 right now if you try to stop me from taking her to the hospital. He freezes, and something in his expression tells me he knows how serious this is. Not just a family disagreement anymore, but something that could have legal consequences. consequences. Madison, my mother tries again, her voice suddenly honey-sweet. Let's all calm down. We can call Dr. Patterson together in the morning. She needs emergency care now, I scream, clutching Emma tighter as I edge toward the door. She's barely responsive. Look at her. My mother blocks my path again, but I'm beyond reasoning now. I shove past her with my shoulder, nearly knocking her over as I fumble with the front door lock. Outside, the cool night air hits my face. I'm halfway down the driveway when I hear our neighbor's door open. Madison, is everything all right? Mrs. Chen calls from her porch, wrapped in a bathrobe. She must have heard the shouting. Mrs. Chen, please, I gasp, running toward her. My baby needs to go to the hospital right now. Can I use your car, please? She takes one look at Emma's limp form and nods immediately. I'll drive you myself. Behind me, my mother appears on our porch. Mrs. Chen, don't listen to her. She's being dramatic again. Mrs. Chen, bless her, doesn't hesitate. Better safe than sorry with babies, she says firmly, already heading for her garage. Come, quickly. I climb into her sedan, still recording everything on my phone. Emma makes a weak mewling sound that terrifies me more than her silence did. It's going to be okay, baby, I whisper, though I'm not sure it's true. Mommy's got you now. The 15-minute drive to the emergency room feels like hours. Mrs. Chen keeps glancing at us in the rearview mirror, her face tight with concern. What happened? She asks. I think my family's been giving her medication without telling me, I say, the words sounding insane even as I speak them. She's been getting sicker for weeks, and tonight I found expired Tylenol and another unmarked bottle. Mrs. Chen's eyes widen, but she just nods and drives faster. At the emergency room, everything becomes a blur of activity. A triage nurse takes one look at Emma and rushes us back immediately. I'm bombarded with questions as they take her vital signs. When did symptoms start? Has she had any medication today? Any known allergies? Has she been responsive to stimuli? I tell them everything, showing the ER doctor the video I took of Emma's bulging fontanelle and explaining about the expired Tylenol and unmarked bottle. I describe how her symptoms always worsened after being with my mother. We need to run some tests immediately, the doctor says, her face grave. Her symptoms are consistent with meningitis, but there could be other causes. They take blood samples, perform a spinal tap, and run a toxicology screen. I sit beside Emma's hospital bed, holding her tiny hand as machines beep around us. Hours pass in a haze of fear and exhaustion. Finally, around 3 a.m., the doctor returns with results. It's not meningitis, she says, and I feel momentary relief until I see her expression. Your daughter is showing symptoms consistent with Reyes syndrome, which is a rare but serious condition that causes swelling in the liver and brain. It's often triggered by aspirin products given during viral illnesses. Aspirin? I repeat, confused. I've never given her aspirin. The pediatrician said never to give babies aspirin. The doctor nods slowly. That's correct. Aspirin is contraindicated for children under 18, especially infants. But her blood work shows salicylate's the active ingredient in aspirin in her system, along with several other medications that shouldn't be given to infants. My hand shakes as I pull out my phone and show her the photo of the unmarked bottle. Could this be it? I found it in her diaper bag. My mother and sister had access to her while I was in the shower. The doctor studies the image carefully. We can't know without testing the contents, but it's possible. Madison, I have to ask, why would anyone give aspirin products to an infant? I shake my head, tears streaming down my face. I don't know. I really don't know. But even as I say it, a terrible suspicion begins forming in my mind. The way my mother watched me when Emma first got sick, the almost satisfied look on her face when I'd panicked about Emma's symptoms, the way they all tried to prevent me from bringing her to the hospital. We need to report this to Child Protective Services, the doctor says gently, and the police may need to be involved. Someone has been giving your baby dangerous medications, and we need to make sure it doesn't happen again. I nod, looking down at Emma's tiny form connected to IV fluids and monitors. Her color is already improving slightly with proper treatment, but the doctor warned me she's not out of danger yet. Do whatever you need to do, I tell her. I just want my daughter to be safe. As dawn breaks through the hospital windows, I make a silent promise to Emma. No matter what it takes, no one is ever going to hurt her again. Not even family. Especially not family. The doctor has just left when there's a knock on the door. 2 police officers enter, followed by a woman in a pantsuit who introduces herself as Detective Ross. She has short gray hair and eyes that miss nothing. Madison Taylor? She asks, checking her notepad. I need to ask you some questions about your daughter's condition. I nod, not taking my eyes off Emma. They've connected her to so many monitors that she looks impossibly small beneath them all. The beeping is constant, each sound a reminder that she's still fighting. The attending physician reported suspected child endangerment, Detective Ross says, pulling a chair closer to Emma's bed. Can you walk me through what happened? I tell her everything, the weeks of mysterious symptoms, how they always worsened after my mother watched her, finding the expired Tylenol and unmarked bottle. I show her the videos and photos on my phone. My hands shake as I swipe through the evidence. And your family tried to prevent you from bringing her to the hospital? She asks, her eyebrows drawing together. They physically blocked the door. If Mrs. Chen hadn't helped us, I trail off, not wanting to imagine what might have happened. Detective Ross takes detailed notes. Has your family ever shown concerning behavior with Emma before? They've always undermined me as her mother, telling me I'm doing everything wrong, taking over her care when I'm not looking. I hesitate before adding, but I never thought they'd actually hurt her. A hospital social worker joins us, introducing herself as Miss Patel. She reviews the evidence on my phone, asking permission to download copies. While they're talking, a nurse rushes in to check Emma's monitors, which have started alarming. Her pressure's rising, she says, pressing a button on the wall. We need the doctor in here now. Everything happens in fast motion after that. The doctor arrives with several nurses, and I'm pushed to the corner of the room as they work on Emma. Words like increased intracranial pressure and possible seizure activity float around me. I press my fist against my mouth to keep from screaming. We need to move her to the PICU, the doctor finally says. Her condition is deteriorating. They wheel Emma's bed past me, and I follow in a daze, Detective Ross and Miss Patel trailing behind. In the pediatric pediatric intensive care unit, they transfer Emma to a new bed surrounded by even more equipment. A nurse gently explains they need to sedate her to reduce brain swelling. Will she? I can't finish the question. We're doing everything we can, she says, squeezing my hand. The next 24 hours will be critical. Detective Ross pulls me aside once Emma is settled. Madison, I need to ask you something difficult. Do you have any reason to believe your family might have intentionally harmed Emma? The question hits me like a physical blow, even though I've been thinking it myself. I don't understand why they would, I whisper, but I can't think of any other explanation. She nods slowly. With your permission, I'd like to look into your family's background, including your own medical history as a child. My medical history? Sometimes there are patterns we can identify, she says carefully. It might help us understand what's happening now. I agree. Signing release forms for my childhood records. Miss Patel arranges for a cot to be brought in so I can sleep beside Emma's bed. I refuse to leave, even when they suggest I go home to shower and change. I'm not letting her out of my sight again, I tell them. Night falls, and I drift in and out of fitful sleep in the uncomfortable hospital chair, jerking awake at every change in Emma's monitors. Around 2 a.m., a commotion in the hallway startles me fully awake. I'm her grandmother. You can't keep me from seeing her. My mother's voice carries through the closed door. I freeze, panic rising in my chest. Then I hear my father's deeper voice joining hers, demanding to speak to someone in charge. I press the nurse call button frantically. When the nurse arrives, I explain the situation in hurried whispers. She immediately calls security while I pull up the photos on my phone to show her. Don't let them in, I beg. They're the ones who did this to her. Security arrives quickly, and I watch through the small window in the door as they block my parents from entering. My mother's face contorts with rage when she spots me watching. She points at me, shouting something I can't hear. I back away from the door, shaking. The nurse stays with me until they're escorted from the floor. They won't get past security, she assures me. We flagged your daughter's chart. Morning brings Detective Ross back, her expression grim but determined. Madison, we found something concerning, she says, sitting beside me. I reviewed your medical records from childhood. You were hospitalized over 20 times before you turned 16, often with unexplained symptoms that resolved once you were under medical care. I stare at her, confused. I was sick a lot as a kid. My mom always said I had a weak immune system. The pattern is consistent with what doctors now recognize as medical child abuse, sometimes called Munchausen syndrome by proxy, she explains gently. It's when a caregiver fabricates or induces illness in someone under their care. The room seems to tilt around me. You think my mother made me sick? On purpose? I can't make that determination yet, Detective Ross says. But the parallels between your childhood illnesses and what's happening with Emma are concerning. Before I can process this, there's another commotion outside. This time it's Valerie's voice I hear, along with a man's I don't recognize. I'm her aunt and I have every right to see her, Valerie is saying. I've brought our family attorney to discuss custody arrangements. Detective Ross exchanges a look with me before stepping outside. Through the window, I see her speaking with Valerie and a middle-aged man in an expensive suit. Valerie spots me and points, her face set in a determined expression I've seen many times before. When Detective Ross returns, her face is serious. Your sister is threatening to file for emergency custody of Emma. She's claiming you're mentally unstable and fabricated the allegations against your family. That's insane, I whisper. I have proof. The doctors confirmed she was given medications she should never have had. We're building a case, Detective Ross assures me, but you should know this might get worse before it gets better. I look at Emma, so small and vulnerable in her hospital bed, and something hardens inside me. They tried to take her from me once. They won't succeed again. Let them try, I tell Detective Ross. I'm not giving up my daughter. Not to them. Not to anyone. For 3 days, I live in the PICU, watching Emma fight for her life. I sleep in 10-minute bursts, jolting awake at every change in her monitors, terrified that I'll miss something crucial. The doctors keep telling me she's stabilizing, but their cautious expressions tell me we're not out of danger yet. On the morning of the 4th day, I wake to find Dr. Samuels checking Emma's vitals, a hint of a smile on her face. Her intracranial pressure is normalizing, she says, when she notices I'm awake, and her liver function tests are improving. She's responding well to treatment. I exhale for what feels like the first time in days. So, she's going to be okay? We need to monitor her closely. But yes, I believe she's turning a corner. She pauses, her expression growing serious. Madison, there's a Child Protective Services investigator here to speak with you. Are you up for that? I nod, smoothing my hair back from my face. I probably look terrible after days without proper sleep or a shower, but I don't care. The CPS investigator is a middle-aged woman named Miss Winters, with kind eyes and a no-nonsense demeanor. She sits across from me while Emma sleeps, her notebook open on her lap. I need to understand your family dynamics, she explains. Detective Ross has shared some preliminary findings with me, but I'd like to hear directly from you. For the next hour, I tell her everything: how my parents and Valerie always undermined me as a mother, how they took over Emma's care whenever possible, how symptoms always appeared after they watched her. And before Emma was born, what was your relationship with your family like? I hesitate. I thought it was normal. My mom was protective, strict. She was always worried about me getting sick. Detective Ross mentioned your extensive medical history as a child. I was sick a lot, I say automatically, then stop. The words feel rehearsed, like something I've been told to say. At least, that's what I was always told. Miss Winters watches me carefully. Madison, are you aware of a condition called Munchausen syndrome by proxy? Detective Ross mentioned it. It's when someone makes another person sick for attention, right? She nods. Often a caregiver, usually a mother, induces or fabricates illness in a dependent. The pattern in your medical records suggests this may have happened to you as a child. The idea still feels impossible, even though I've been turning it over in my mind since Detective Ross first mentioned it. But why would she do that to me? And why would she hurt Emma? Control, attention, sympathy. The reasons vary, but the behavior often continues generationally. When the original victim grows up and has children of their own, she loses control of me, so she targets my child instead. I finish, feeling sick. Miss Winters nods. We've received the toxicology report on Emma's blood samples. They found traces of multiple medications, aspirin, antihistamines, and small amounts of a sedative that shouldn't be given to infants. My hands start shaking. They could have killed her. Yes, she says simply. They could have. A knock at the door interrupts us. Detective Ross enters, her face grim but determined. We got the lab results from that unmarked bottle you found, she says. It contained a mixture of crushed aspirin and diphenhydramine, an antihistamine in liquid form, homemade and highly dangerous for an infant. I feel the blood drain from my face. They made it themselves? This wasn't just giving her the wrong medicine by accident? No, Detective Ross says firmly. This was deliberate. Miss Winters makes a note in her file. Madison, we need to discuss a safety plan for Emma. Under no circumstances should your family have access to her. They won't, I say fiercely. I'm never letting them near her again. Detective Ross sits on the edge of the bed. We'd like to arrange a controlled confrontation with your mother. With your permission, we'll record it for evidence. My stomach twists. You want me to talk to her? After what she did, you'd be completely safe. We believe she might admit more to you than to us. I look at Emma, her tiny chest rising and falling steadily now. The rage I feel is almost blinding. When? The confrontation happens the next day in a small conference room at the hospital. They've set up recording equipment, and Detective Ross will be watching from behind a two-way mirror. My mother arrives looking perfectly put together as always, but her eyes are red-rimmed. Madison, she says, reaching for my hands. I pull away. How's Emma? They won't tell me anything. She almost died, I say flatly. The doctors say if I'd waited even a few more hours to bring her in, she wouldn't have made it. My mother's face crumples. You're exaggerating. She just had a little fever. They found aspirin in her system, Mom, and antihistamines, and sedatives. They found your homemade concoction in that unmarked bottle. She goes very still. I was just trying to help. You don't know how to handle a sick baby. She wasn't sick until you started helping, I say, my voice rising. Just like I wasn't sick until you decided I needed to be. Her eyes widen slightly. What are you talking about? My medical records, Mom. 20 hospitalizations before I turned 16? All those times I was too sick for school or friends or anything normal? It was you, wasn't it? You were making me sick. She shakes her head, but there's something panicked in her eyes now. You were a sickly child. You needed me. No, you needed me to need you. The realization hits me fully as I say it. And when I had Emma and started making my own decisions, you couldn't stand it, so you targeted her instead. That's ridiculous, she whispers, but there's no conviction in her voice. Why, Mom? Why would you hurt your own granddaughter? She stares at her hands for a long moment. When she finally speaks, her voice is so quiet I have to lean forward to hear her. You were going to leave. Take her and leave us. I could tell. She looks up, tears streaming down her face. I just needed you to see that you couldn't do it alone, that you needed me. The confession hangs in the air between us. I feel nothing but cold fury. Did Dad know about Emma? About what you did to me as a child? She hesitates. He suspected sometimes, but he never wanted to believe it. And Valerie? My mother's expression shifts. Valerie was just trying to help teach you responsibility. She thought if Emma had a few symptoms, you'd pay more attention to her care, so she was in on it too. I stand up, unable to sit across from her any longer. You all conspired to poison my baby to teach me a lesson? The door opens and Detective Ross enters with two uniformed officers. Mrs. Taylor, we need you to come with us. You're under arrest for child endangerment and attempted murder. My mother stands, panic washing over her face. Madison, you can't let them do this. We're family. Family doesn't poison babies, I say, stepping back as the officers approach her. Family doesn't make children sick for attention. They read her rights as they handcuff her. Just before they lead her out, she turns to me one last time. Your father had nothing to do with this. He didn't know. But 3 hours later, Detective Ross shows me a journal they found hidden in my parents' bedroom during their search, detailed notes in my father's handwriting, documenting my childhood, illnesses, and expressing concern about my mother's behavior, dating back 15 years. He knew. He always knew. By evening, both my parents and Valerie have been arrested. The evidence against them is overwhelming. The medications found in their home matching what was in Emma's system, my father's journal, Valerie's text messages to my mother discussing how to teach Madison a lesson. The emergency court hearing happens via video conference from Emma's hospital room. The judge grants a temporary restraining order against my entire family without hesitation. They are not to contact me or come within 500 feet of Emma or me. As the video call ends, I look down at Emma, finally sleeping peacefully without all the tubes and wires. The nurse tells me we can probably go home in a few days. Home, but where is that now? We'll figure it out, I whisper to Emma, stroking her soft cheek. Just you and me. We don't need them. For the first time in days, I feel like I can breathe again. My family is gone, but so is the shadow they cast over us. Whatever comes next, we'll face it together. 6 months after that terrible night in the hospital, I sit cross-legged on a blanket in the park, watching Emma toddle toward a butterfly. Her chubby legs wobble, but she's determined, squealing with delight as the butterfly flutters just out of reach. The pediatric neurologist called her recovery remarkable. No lasting damage, no developmental delays, just a happy, healthy 1-year-old with no memory of what happened to her. I wish I could say the same for myself. She's getting fast, Dr. Santos says, joining me on the blanket. She's not just Emma's new pediatrician, but the first person who helped us start over in Colorado, 3 states away from my family and everything I once knew. Too fast. I agree, lunging forward to catch Emma before she faceplants in the grass. I can barely keep up with her. Dr. Santos Maria, as she insists I call her outside the office, watches us with a smile. The documentation looks good. 6 months of perfect checkups, all milestones hit on time. The court will be impressed. The folder beside me contains every medical record, every developmental assessment, every piece of evidence that Emma is thriving under my care alone. The custody hearing is next week, though it's mostly a formality now. My family has no legal standing to challenge me anymore. Have you heard anything about your mother's evaluation? Maria asks carefully. I nod, pulling Emma back onto my lap as she tries to eat a dandelion. dandelion. The psychiatrist officially diagnosed her with Munchausen syndrome by proxy. The report said she'd likely been suffering from it for decades. I swallow hard, starting with me. The diagnosis explained so much: all those childhood illnesses, the constant hospital visits, the way my mother seemed almost disappointed when I started getting healthier as a teenager. I'd spent months in therapy unpacking what it meant to be raised by someone who derived satisfaction from my suffering. And your sister? Valerie took a plea deal, probation and mandatory counseling. I still can't reconcile the sister who taught me to ride a bike with the woman who helped poison my daughter. The prosecutor said without her testimony against my parents, the case would have been harder to prove. Valerie had broken down during questioning, admitting that she'd known what our mother was doing but convinced herself it was just to teach me responsibility. She'd helped crush medications into Emma's bottles, thinking it would only make her fussy enough that I'd need their help. And your father? 2 years. The sentence still feels too light. He kept journals about my childhood illnesses, detailed notes about symptoms, medications. He knew what was happening to me for years and did nothing. I looked down at Emma, now contentedly chewing on a teething ring. How do you watch someone hurt your child and do nothing? Maria doesn't answer. There is no answer that makes sense to normal people. After the arrests, I discovered my father had a separate bank account I never knew about. He'd been transferring money into it for years, his just-in-case fund, the prosecutor called it. When I turned 18, he'd added my name to the account but never told me about it. There was enough money there to start over, to move away, and enroll in nursing school. His silent admission of guilt, perhaps, or his way of trying to make amends without actually having to face what he'd done. Are you ready for your exam next week? Maria asks, changing the subject. I nod, grateful for the distraction. As ready as I'll ever be. Emma's been helping me study. I tickle my daughter's belly, making her giggle. She's particularly good at anatomy flashcards, loves to drool on the pancreas. Returning to school had been Maria's suggestion. If understanding medicine helps you feel in control, then learn it properly, she'd said. The nursing program is challenging with a toddler, but I'm determined. No one will ever be able to use my medical ignorance against me or Emma again. The support group called yesterday, I tell her. They want me to speak at their conference in September. The group connects survivors of medical child abuse, many of them parents themselves now, terrified of repeating patterns or having their own children targeted by the grandparents who once abused them. Finding them had been like discovering a lifeline I didn't know existed. People who understood the unique horror of having someone who should protect you deliberately make you sick instead. You should do it, Maria says. Your story could help a lot of people. Maybe. I'm still not sure I'm ready to stand in front of strangers and talk about what happened. Some days I can barely believe it myself. My phone buzzes with a calendar reminder. Emma's playgroup in 30 minutes. Another piece of our new normal structured activities, consistent schedules, the kind of stability I never had as a child. We should get going, I say, gathering our things. The mom who hosts playgroup makes these amazing oatmeal cookies, and I've been craving them all week. Maria helps me fold the blanket. You know, when you first came to my practice, I was worried about you. A teenage mom, no family support, starting over in a new state, those are significant challenges. They are. I agree, settling Emma on my hip, but I've never seen anyone rise to those challenges the way you have. She squeezes my shoulder. You're an incredible mother, Madison. The words hit me harder than I expect, bringing tears to my eyes. For so long, all I heard was how incapable I was, how I couldn't possibly know what was best for my daughter. Having someone, especially someone as knowledgeable as Maria, affirm that I'm doing well means everything. Thank you, I whisper, blinking back tears. 5 years later, I stand at the back of a kindergarten classroom, watching Emma line up with her classmates. Her dark curls bounce as she chatters excitedly with the little boy next to her, her Wonder Woman backpack almost as big as she is. She's tall for 5, with my eyes and a confidence I never possessed at her age. Mom, she calls, spotting me and waving frantically. We're having a birthday party for Tyler today. Miss Jacobs says I can help pass out cupcakes because I'm a good helper. I wave back, smiling at her enthusiasm. That's wonderful, sweetie. Miss Jacobs, Emma's teacher, approaches me with a clipboard. Emma's been talking all morning about your special plans this weekend. Something about her real birthday. I nod. It's complicated. We celebrate her birthday twice, the day she was born and the day she got better. I don't go into details about what better means. Those are conversations for when Emma is older, when she asks why she doesn't have grandparents like other kids. Well, she's very excited, Miss Jacobs says. She's drawn about 20 pictures of the cake you're making. It's just us and a few close friends, I explain, but we make it special. What I don't say is that this weekend marks 5 years since Emma recovered. 5 years of freedom from the shadow my family cast over us. We'll have cake and presents, yes, but what we're really celebrating is survival, hers, and in many ways, mine too. As I leave the school, my phone buzzes with a text from one of the mothers in my support group. Court denied my mother's visitation request. Judge cited your case as precedent. I smile, typing back congratulations. My decision to speak publicly about what happened to us has had ripple effects I never anticipated, helping other families establish boundaries and protect their children. The nursing degree hangs framed in our living room now, alongside Emma's artwork and photos of the life we built together. I work 3 days a week at a pediatric clinic, using what I learned from our experience to spot signs other doctors might miss. Sometimes I still wake up in a cold sweat, convinced I need to check on Emma to make sure no one has given her something harmful. The trauma doesn't disappear completely, but those moments grow less frequent with each passing year. With each milestone Emma reaches in perfect health. This weekend, we'll celebrate with chocolate cake, Emma's current obsession, and the bicycle she's been begging for. Maria will be there, along with friends we've made in our new community. There will be no family shadows darkening our door, no one questioning my abilities as a mother, no hidden dangers in Emma's food or medicine. Just us, safe and healthy and free, celebrating the life we fought so hard to have.